that we formalize ourselves. And when it was suggested that we formalize, I was requested to be the chairman. I initially was reluctant. I would want to equate myself to Moses of the Bible when he was asked by God to go and lead his children from Israel, from Missouri. And he had to give very many reasons. He actually said, until I stammer, mpaka Mungu akamwambia sawa, enda na brother yako. The problem is, hujui kuongea, take Aaron and move with him. And I think that was the fifth. He had given 4 more reasons why he feels he's inadequate to actually be the one to go and lead the children of Israel out of Missouri. And eventually he did a good job. And the rest of the story you know. So we felt that after some time we need to formalize ourselves and tap into the wealth of knowledge and actually other abilities that are there in the membership and do something for ourselves. We have managed to do many things within the network in terms of networking. I want to recognize the fact that the water that we are taking right now, and actually everyone should be able to get some water. Evelyn, I think not just the ushers, everyone is thirsty. I mean, because our brother, Musafiri, we call him Musafiri, Evans Musembi, donated this water to us. Evans is our member. I have to say I didn't know about the water called Musafiri before I joined you. Part of the things we have perfected. When we want to do our meetings in Nairobi, we have our members who have places where we can meet, restaurants, and we have just decided we will not meet anywhere else. We will meet at the places which are owned. The t-shirts that you see as in uniform, all the UNV members, we did not go outside the UNV membership to get someone to do them for us. We floated the tent, and soon after that, when now the idea of the Eaglets came about, we decided that the steering committee should not be the one to run with the projects. And that's how we decided, let's delink ourselves from the specific projects and appoint a team, because we have a lot of able people. If you don't utilize as a leader, if you cannot utilize the people that you are leading, then really you are failing. And so I'm very excited as I appreciate the team that Augustine led. And we also have the business empowerment team, which is led by, I think I want to recognize the members of our business empowerment team, UNV. That is the other big project that we are doing currently, other than the Eaglets program. Are you in the house? Felix? Mana Felix General? Where is my Secretary General? Yeah, Mana Lady. And there's one more in the house. Where is she? She's outside, eh? Yeah, there. Zembi. You know, a statement which was, if you go to the school where I went to, high school, you will find, and Engineer Johnny knows this, at the director's office, it is written, blessed are those who dream dreams and are ready to pay the price to make them come true. Anyone else who recognizes where that statement is picked from? Which school? Starehe Boys Center. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. We were inspired a lot by the late Dr. Geoffrey William Griffin, and part of the things we are doing to give back to the community makes me happy, because if it wasn't for charity, I personally would probably not be standing in front of you. After my primary school at Chari Primary School in Masi, just down, I didn't belong to Kibwezi all this time. I schooled in Masi Primary, Chari, in Masi location. and then went to Ceremony Center for their medical school students. All this is possible. University of Nairobi Medical School, back there for my master's. And I'm passionate about education as an individual. And my good friend Kioko will attest to this. He's the one who recruited me into my service where I served as a board member in the school where he was deputy at that time, Yomboni Secondary School. I keep on telling people I'm in the education sector because we know that if it wasn't for education, many of us would not have met in Nairobi. Wengine wetu tungekuwa in the villages. We are only able to meet in Nairobi as Ukambani to Ukambani and sit down and discuss and articulate these matters the way we do because we went through education and we went through it successfully. That's why we are able to meet and talk. And so we felt we needed to give back to the community. I am happy that we have managed to be here. The challenges, of course, we know the few. We realize that we cannot atikia wito. Don't worry about the ones who are not here. We have to start from somewhere. The letters were taken to all the counties. We invited officers from all the counties. We visited the schools. Manajanita will tell you personally, he's the one who visited the 2 schools in Kitui County. As a chairman, I told him you have to go to the farthest place. Wachia wengine hizi shule ziko karibu. As a chairman, you have to sacrifice. That is what I know. And so, we will still keep on reminding them that we are available when you need us.
My name is Terry. Before I start, I schooled in Precious Blood Kilungu. Yes, and I'm here to read to you the profile of our chief guest. Our chief guest is Professor Raphael Makueni Munavu. Professor Munavu is a professor of chemistry at the University of Nairobi. He attended Kalamazoo College, where he graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1970. He proceeded to Wayne University, where he graduated with a Master's of Science in Chemistry in 1972. In 1975, he graduated with a PhD in Chemistry from the University of Detroit. Professor Munavu has served as a Vice Chancellor of Moi University and was a founding principal of Laikipia College, was a chairman of Kenya National Examination Council, and a member of Commission on Revenue Allocation, among others. Professor Munavu is the founder of SECU. He is also a member of Kamba Elders, a husband and a father and a mentor, among many other things. Thank you very much.
1, 2, 3. Karibu, Professor. We deserve to be with you. You deserve to speak here. Karibu sana, Professor.
Thank you very much, everybody. Please be seated. I have just a few comments to make. But you know, sometimes in a function like this, one needs to be more engaging and interactive, I think. And let me begin by really saying congratulations to the team, to the brains behind UNV. I think even before we talk about the Eaglets, just the idea of putting individuals, people together, the idea of consolidating resources and minds together, sharing a vision and a focus ahead. There is nothing better in terms of development, community development, even national development, than bringing individuals together so that we have a common focus and we share something ahead of us. I really thank you. It is a timely initiative, and most important, critically, is you chose education. And you know, maybe I should just mention two comments. One is, why is it so critical that you chose education? Then I will share with you my vision about really what we should be doing as we move forward. In any nation in the world, one of the ways in which you measure how developed a community is you measure how educated the youth are. There is something they use, and Charles, you give me this, so I will use it, if you don't mind. How do you determine how developed any community or country is, or nation? When you are developing any index, you use various criteria. One of them is, how healthy are you as a people? Okay, so that's one they use. They use only 3 criteria, by the way. How healthy are you? What is your life expectancy? By the way, what is the life expectancy of Kenyans now? Average.
70.
I'm 70, but I am beyond that. I think life expectancy is a little bit below 70. But there are countries like in Europe, America, and so on, where life expectancy is actually over 70. So that when you are born, on the average, you are expected to live up to about 70. Life expectancy. That is a determination of how healthy you are. The other one is education. And this is the point I wanted to make. That if you have a community in which all young people have access to basic education at a critical level, then you say that that country is developed and that community is developed. So the criteria they use for education is how many of our young people get basic education up to Form 4. That is defined as basic education. And I support you, Speaker. When you say that we should be thinking in terms of this issue of mentorship and motivation and so on, it should be recognizing also that transition rate from primary to high school, okay, secondary education. So that is very important. The third criteria which is used to determine development is income, is economic income. So the 3 of them, number 1 and number 3, per capita income, those are the 3 that are going to determine whether we are going to be developed or advanced or not, as a community, as a country. And therefore your choice of education to me was so important. It's so important, and it was wise. Not because it is in the Constitution, and I know, Speaker, it's a fundamental right. It's a basic right, isn't it? But if we expect to move and develop, there is no way we can do it unless we invest in education, so that we can raise the Human Development Index of our nation and our communities. That to me is extremely important, and therefore your initiative is timely. It is an initiative that we will look for ways in which we will provide the necessary support at various levels, which I think are also very critical, these pillars. And as we move forward, I think then we will look for ways in which at least we have intervention points to ensure that this is successful, so that everybody else, other communities, will be able to copy what you have initiated. I really thank you, and I appreciate. You know, one of the things about education, and Charles, I think I've shared this with you in the past, is competition is very important for young people to compete. There is something known as educational Olympiads. When we hear of Olympics, it is sport, isn't it? It is not. It is one. Sport is one. There is Olympiads in education. Now, Kenya doesn't participate in those Olympiads, okay? If it's running, we participate, yeah. If it's boxing, it's football, we participate. But there are Olympiads in science, okay? And this is a true story. They have found out that nations that perform at secondary level, that perform very well, and at university level also, in the sciences, are the same nations that have got a high human development index. A county, Makueni, a county that is competitive in mathematics, in science, in engineering, etc., then will also be reflected to be more developed than other counties that don't perform well. Currently, the nations that are doing extremely well in the Olympiads include, for example, US sometimes, but Singapore, Japan, South Korea, they do very well. And this is a competition among high school kids. Let me tell you, one time, I think UK, I don't know how many countries participate in these Olympiads. Let us consult and check it. But I remember one time, UK had never won the Olympiads. It is international, by the way.